Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take your sources, find the gold nuggets. Today, we're diving into, well, a really interesting take on semaglutide and weight loss. It's through this lens called the Dan Hollis protocol. We've got a whole philosophy here, a framework centered on the human side of things, and even a personal story about dealing with setbacks.
Yeah, and our mission today is really to unpack why this approach feels different from, the standard advice. We'll get into his core ideas, the deeper human stuff he emphasizes,
Right.
and how this whole framework is aiming for, lasting change, not just a quick fix. It's definitely not just about the medication.
No, sounds like it's way more fundamental, understanding ourselves, our whole relationship with food.
Exactly.
So look, if you've ever felt like willpower just wasn't cutting it, or you're curious about what's really going on, beyond just the number on the scale.
Yeah.
Well, stick around. I think you'll find some really surprising insights here. Let's unpack this unique approach.
Let's do it.
Okay, so first off, this core idea Hollis puts out there, he really challenges that common view of semaglutide as some kind of magic fix.
Right. You hear that everywhere.
Yeah, like it's the answer.
And Hollis directly counters that. He says, look, it's not a drug journey, it's a human journey. Yes, it's a powerful tool, no doubt. It fundamentally changes how your brain processes hunger, satisfaction, reward.
Which sounds huge.
It is. And he notes that can be incredibly liberating for people, but it can also be terrifying.
Right. Because it's unfamiliar territory.
Exactly. Which is why he stresses having real support, real guidance alongside it. It's about, navigating that new internal landscape that the medication reveals.
And he hit something hard right away, something I think so many people resonate with. He says, flat out, willpower was never the problem. Powerful statement.
It really is. Because for ages, that's been the message, right? Just try harder.
Yeah.
How does Hollis dismantle that idea?
Well, his reasoning is pretty straightforward. He basically says, look, most people have tried willpower, right? Like countless times.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
With immense effort, often. And it fails. It consistently fails against our biology, our emotions, these deep-seated habit loops.
So it's not a character flaw.
Not at all. He argues trying to willpower your way through that stuff is like, I don't know, trying to stop a river with your hands?
Yeah, futile.
Right. What actually works, he says, is insight, having structure, using tools that meet your biology where it actually is. He's very clear. You are not broken. You're not lazy. You're not undisciplined.
Wow.
It's more that you're up against biology you weren't taught about, maybe, and a culture that kind of profits from keeping things confusing.
That's a huge reframing. So for you listening, if you felt that shame, that frustration after trying willpower again and again, Hollis is framing this completely differently. Not you're failing, but maybe the approach itself was the issue. He says, there is no shame here, only process.
Yeah.
You are not broken. It shifts everything. It really does. Okay, so moving beyond just the physical hunger, Hollis introduces this idea. This is emotional weight as much as it is physical weight.
Yes. Crucial distinction.
So for someone who, grabs a snack when they're stressed or bored,
Yeah.
what does that actually mean when semaglutide is in the picture?
Well, he elaborates on that. People don't just eat because their stomach grumbles,
Right.
right? We eat because we're anxious, lonely, bored, overwhelmed, or just feeling unsupported.
All those things.
Yeah. And semaglutide is really effective at turning down the volume on the physical hunger signals. But
the anxiety's still there.
exactly, the boredom is still there. Without support for those underlying emotional drivers, the root causes don't go away. And that's often where relapse happens later.
Makes sense. So his system is designed to actually address that emotional side too.
Explicitly to guide you through that whole recalibration process.
Okay, and the very first step in his framework is fascinating. He calls it start with silence. If semaglutide quiets the cravings, what happens in that? Silence. I mean, for someone used to using food to cope, wouldn't that feel really unsettling, maybe even scary?
It absolutely can. Hollis says quite poetically, when the cravings stop, the truth begins.
Oh.
Yeah. So when that constant noise of hunger or maybe food noise quiets down, that silence, it can be peaceful, sure, but it can also be deeply uncomfortable.
Because things surface.
Things surface,
Yeah.
emotions, sensations you might have been masking with food. And the instruction here isn't quick, fill the void. It's listen, observe, become aware of what you're actually feeling now that food isn't the automatic response.
Just sit with it for a bit.
Sit with it. Don't rush.
And that listening, that awareness, it seems like it leads directly into his next point. Every pound lost is a habit that needs replacing, not just removing.
Exactly. That's a key distinction. Replacing, not just removing.
Why is that distinction so important? It implies action, right? Creating something new.
Precisely. Because food rituals are eating habits. They aren't just about nutrition. They are deeply wired neurological loops.
Habits. The 3 p.m. snack attack, whether you're hungry or not.
Totally. Or reaching for comfort food when stressed. So even when the physical hunger signal is way down thanks to semaglutide, those old habits, they can stick around. They're automatic.
The muscle memory is still there.
The neural pathway is still there. So the protocol emphasizes actively replacing those moments. Maybe it's a walk, maybe journaling, maybe calling a friend, finding new rituals.
So semaglutide creates the opportunity to see the habit clearly.
It creates a space, exactly. It makes it easier to see what needs rebuilding. But Hollis is clear it doesn't do the rebuilding for you. That's your work.
That's the human journey part.
That's the human journey part.
Okay, and building on that,
Yeah.
this next concept feels really deep. Anchor identity before the weight drops.
This one's critical.
Because usually the goal is just lose the weight.
Right.
That's the focus. Why does he insist on focusing on identity so early, even before the big physical changes happen?
Because, and this is a direct insight from Hollis, your body changes faster than your identity. That's the trap.
The trap. Okay. Explain that.
Think about it. The number on the scale might drop, your clothes might fit differently, but inside, how you see yourself, how you relate to the world, that often lags behind.
Right. You might still feel like the old you.
Exactly. Or you haven't really defined the new you yet. So this invisible work, the work of aligning your self-perception, your identity with your changing body, he argues that's actually more important than the visible weight loss itself.
Wow. More important.
For lasting change, yes. It involves asking yourself, okay, who am I becoming as I go through this? How do I want to show up differently? Without that internal anchor, he explains, the brain, specifically your subconscious, can actually sabotage the body's progress.
Sabotage.
Because the subconscious often prefers what's familiar, even if it's uncomfortable, over navigating a completely new, unanchored sense of self. It can feel threatening.
That makes a scary amount of sense. So if you're listening and you've had weight loss journeys stall before, maybe this identity piece wasn't really part of the equation.
It often isn't in traditional approaches. It's a real shift from just focusing on the physical.
Okay, shifting gears slightly to how the progress happens. Hollis warns against going too fast. He talks about the trap of fast weight loss.
Yeah, which goes against everything we usually hear, right? Faster is better.
Exactly. In a world obsessed with quick fixes, why is fast potentially problematic here? Why isn't it always lasting?
Well, Hollis talks about what he calls metabolic pacing. His core idea is fast results don't mean lasting results. Pacing is protection.
Protection against what?
Against your body basically thinking it's starving. If you lose weight too rapidly, it can send famine signals. Your metabolism can actually slow down dramatically to conserve energy.
Oh, the opposite of what you want.
Precisely. And you can lose more muscle mass, which also hurts your metabolism long term. He argues that both your physical body and, just as importantly, your emotional self need time to adapt to the changes. That adaptation is what makes it stick. Rushing it can backfire.
So slow and steady actually does win the race here, metabolically and emotionally.
That's the philosophy, yes. Pacing is key for sustainability.
And this focus on sustainability seems baked in from the start. He insists on planning the off-ramp from day one.
This is huge.
It really goes against the grain, doesn't it? Most people think about starting the medication, the on-ramp. They aren't thinking about stopping it on day one.
Exactly. But Hollis is adamant. The real work begins after the medication. His argument is that most people who regain weight after stopping semaglutide don't relapse because of overwhelming physical hunger returning instantly.
Okay, so why do they relapse, in his view?
It's usually because those underlying unaddressed emotional patterns and old habit loops resurface once the support of the medication is removed. The silence gets filled again, but maybe not intentionally.
So the silence wasn't used strategically.
Right. So his protocol focuses intensely on building habits, mindsets, and support systems during the medication phase that are designed to last beyond the injections. You're not just on something.
Yeah.
You're actively building your after.
You're building the scaffolding for life after.
You got it. Planning the off-ramp from day one.
That completely reframes medication as a temporary tool to facilitate permanent change, not the change itself.
That's the core idea, a powerful differentiator from just seeing it as a short-term fix.
Okay, let's talk about that scaffolding. Support. Hollis doesn't just say it's nice to have. He says support isn't optional. It's neurobiological scaffolding.
Yeah, strong words. Neurobiological.
What does that actually mean? How does support act like scaffolding for your brain?
He makes it really clear. This journey, this kind of deep change, it's not a solo mission. That neurobiological scaffolding concept means you're literally building new neural pathways for new behaviors and ways of thinking. And consistent support, whether it's emotional support, community, structure, even the language you use, provides the external framework that helps those new pathways form and strengthen. It helps reinforce the new identity, the new habits.
So it's like training wheels for your brain's new patterns.
That's a great way to put it. And he has this really insightful line comparing AI and humans. He says, AI can deliver information. Humans deliver meaning. You'll need both.
Information versus meaning.
Yeah, you need the facts, the data, maybe the tracking,
Yeah.
but you also need the empathy, the connection, the shared experience, the meaning behind it all. That's the human element of the scaffolding.
And that scaffolding, that meaning, it feeds right into another critical piece, rewriting the narrative. Hollis says, weight loss is biology.
Yeah.
Staying there is narrative. Wow, that implies the story we tell ourselves about ourselves is ultimately what keeps the weight off.
That's exactly his point. Biology gets you there, potentially with the help of a tool like semaglutide, but your internal story is what keeps you there.
But how do you actually rewrite a narrative? Especially one that might be really old and ingrained, like I always fail at this or don't deserve to be healthy.
It's active work. Hollis's protocol involves specific practices to help people identify and then consciously rewrite those self-stories. The ones about past perceived failures, their relationship with food, their fundamental self-worth.
So it's not just positive thinking.
No, it's deeper. He believes that no medication, no diet can sustain progress if your underlying narrative is screaming, I don't deserve this, or it's only a matter of time before I mess up.
Because the narrative drives behavior subconsciously.
Precisely. So it's about consciously crafting and reinforcing a new self-story, one that aligns with the future you're building, rather than letting old limiting beliefs keep pulling you back.
So for you listening again, think about those stories you tell yourself. About any challenge, really. Could the narrative itself be the bottleneck?
It's a powerful question to ask. It really shifts focus beyond just the physical actions.
Okay, now let's tackle something inevitable on any big journey.
Yeah.
Setbacks. Bumps in the road.
Yep. Everyone hits them.
And Hollis has, again, a really unique angle. He notes, most people don't relapse into hunger. They relapse into confusion.
Intriguing, right? Not hunger, confusion.
Yeah. What does that confusion actually look like in practice? What's confusing?
Well, Hollis teaches that setbacks are not just possible, they're predictable. They're not shameful moments of failure.
Okay.
That confusion arises because your old neural pathways, your old coping mechanisms, they try to reassert themselves. Your body and brain are kind of testing the waters, asking, wait, are we really doing this new thing? Is this the new normal now?
So it's like a calibration moment.
Exactly. A recalibration. It's not a sign you're lazy or undisciplined. It's a sign you're human and your system is processing a major change. He reframes these moments entirely not as failures, but as essential parts of the process, rich with potential for insight.
That takes so much pressure off. And he uses an analogy for this process that I found really helpful. Weight loss isn't a straight lineup, it's a spiral staircase.
Yes, love that analogy.
What does it feel like to be on that staircase? Because sometimes it must feel like you're just going in circles.
It absolutely can feel like that. But the beauty of the spiral staircase analogy is it clarifies that even when you feel like you're covering the same ground, you're actually still climbing. You're moving upwards, just maybe seeing the same view from a slightly higher perspective.
Ah, okay. So plateaus aren't dead ends.
Not at all. In this view, plateaus are your body catching its breath, your metabolism maybe asking for a little grace as it adapts to a new set point.
And what about when old cravings pop up or old emotional eating urges? Is that failure?
Hollis teaches that's not weakness either. It's just memory. It's an old neural pathway lighting up, asking, hey, remember me? Do I still matter?
And the difference now is how you respond.
Exactly. With the tools, the awareness, the support, the new narrative, you now have the capacity to acknowledge that signal without automatically acting on it. You can answer differently.
And this loops back to the narrative idea, doesn't it? He says setbacks mean the story you were telling yourself still needs updating.
Perfectly connected. The spiral staircase isn't just physical, it's a narrative journey too.
How so?
Well, semaglutide might provide that initial physiological space, that quiet. But Hollis teaches you how to use that space, especially during setbacks. Instead of letting a setback trigger the old "I failed" story,
Yeah.
you learn to narrate it as a series of questions, not judgments, but questions.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what am I truly feeling right now underneath this urge? What do I really need in this moment that isn't food? And importantly, who do I choose to be? How do I want to respond, even when things feel tough like this?
Wow. So you turn a potential spiral down into a moment of climbing up that staircase.
That's the goal. It transforms what feels like failure into a moment of profound self-inquiry, learning, and actively shaping your ongoing story of resilience.
That is a profoundly different way to look at challenges, not just weight loss, but any challenge. It's seeing it as a learning opportunity, not proof of failure.
It changes the entire dynamic of the journey, absolutely.
So, wrapping this up, what we've really explored today is this significant shift in perspective on weight loss. It's moving way beyond just biology to deeply integrating identity, our emotions, the need for ongoing support. Dan Hollis's protocol doesn't sound like a simple checklist at all.
No, definitely not. It sounds more like a guided transformation from, shame to structure.
Yeah, from just relying on medication to finding deeper meaning.
And from maybe feeling lost in that initial silence to having a real strategy.
Right. It seems very clear that this is presented as a really structured process, but one with genuine human support baked in.
Absolutely. Aimed at helping you fundamentally reclaim your relationship with food, sure, but also with your body and maybe even with yourself.
Yeah. It's definitely not positioned as a miracle cure. It's about doing that deeper, integrated work.
That seems to be the core message.
Okay, so here's our provocative thought for you to mull over after this deep dive. How might really understanding this human journey perspective, this idea where setbacks are actually learning opportunities and where doing the identity work is just as crucial as the physical stuff? How might that transform your approach to any significant personal goal you're working towards? Not just weight loss, but anything.